So now part two of what if Fire Lord Sozin, or I guess this is part three of what if Fire Lord Sozin had burned down the entire Earth Kingdom, since this is my third video on it. But, okay, let's go back to the scenario. So, yeah, let's go back to the first scenario I mentioned in the earlier video. If Fire Lord Sozin just burned down the entire Earth Kingdom, destroyed all the Earthbenders, and won the war outright in just one swift move, then it would have been much more efficient, as I said, because really in the original timeline, Fire Lord Sozin was going after the Avatar, going after the air temples, because he knew that his biggest threat was the Avatar. But really, what Sozin didn't realize, and maybe this was because Sozin was like 82 years old at the time, and just maybe his judgment wasn't so great, or maybe he just wasn't thinking clearly, because bad guys don't really think very clearly. And so maybe he did. So I mean, he should have realized that winning the war outright, burning down the entire Earth Kingdom, would have been much more efficient. And then if he had done that, then the Avatar wouldn't have been able to stop him. Because even if the Avatar is all powerful, well, how's the Avatar going to save the world when there is no world to save? So let's pretend Sozin went with my logic and destroyed the Earth Kingdom. And then Sozin decided, hey, I'm done here. I destroyed the Earth Kingdom. The Avatar is irrelevant and does not matter anymore. So how about I just rule the Earth Kingdom for the rest of my life? And so Sozin has the Fire Nation, and now he has the entire Earth Kingdom because he burned it all down. And he gets his goal. Now, what happens in this scenario? Well, first and foremost, one Earthbender would survive. The last Earthbender would be Bumi of Omashu. And I think Bumi would escape the fire somehow because he's very smart and very creative. And we see that a lot in the series. So I think Bumi would be the only survivor of the Earth Kingdom. And I think Bumi would probably seek out Aang. And of course, in this scenario, as I mentioned, all the air nomads are still alive. So I think Monk Gyatso would seek out Aang as well. And Monk Gyatso would go searching for Aang. And I think Monk Gyatso would probably ask Avatar Roku for advice. You know, Avatar Roku is friends with Monk Gyatso, so I think Monk Gyatso would probably go into the Southern Air Temple Avatar Sanctuary and talk to Roku's statue or something, talk to Roku or something, or just use his instincts and look for Aang. And I think Monk Gyatso would probably team up with Bumi, and maybe they would also go find Kuzan. So Gyatso, Kuzan, Bumi, Gyatso, Bumi, Kuzan. They would go and look for Aang. And I think they'd eventually find him. I think they'd find him pretty quickly, I think, because if they're all teaming up together and looking for him, I think they'd be able to find Aang. And once they find Aang, they would break him out of the iceberg and tell him everything that happened. And of course, Aang would be very upset that the Earth Kingdom was destroyed. But at the same time, Aang would be happy that it wasn't his people. The air nomads were wiped out instead. So, Gyatso would obviously continue training Aang in airbending, even though Aang was already good. Aang would need more training at this point, because if he wants to save what is left of the world. And then Aang would, and I think Gyatso, Bumi, Kuzan, and Aang, the four of them would travel to the Water Tribe, maybe the Southern Water Tribe, because they're already near that place. And Aang would learn waterbending very quickly. Or maybe Aang would just take 4 years to learn waterbending, because at this point the entire world has been conquered, so Fire Nation is really just busy establishing colonies. And then after doing that, then Aang would learn earthbending from Bumi, and then Aang would learn firebending from Kuzan, and Aang would master all the elements and get really good at it. And then Aang would face Sozin, who would be really, really old at this time. Sozin would be like in his 90s or 100s by then, so maybe he'd be very beatable. And the other thing is, I think that in this scenario, the dragons might be an asset, because the dragons would probably help out, because there were still dragons around when Fire Lord Azulon was the Fire Lord, because you remember Iroh went around and claimed that he killed less when really he had just learned the truth of firebending from Ran and Shaw. So it appears that there were probably still dragons around while Fire Lord Azulon was in power. So I'd say maybe the dragons would also help out Team Avatar. Obviously, Team Avatar being Aang, Bumi, Gyatso, and Kuzan. And whatever waterbenders they meet along the way. So I think In this scenario, it might actually be better. I mean, not for the Earthbenders, obviously, since they're all dead, but not for the Earth Kingdom, because everyone in the Earth Kingdom is now dead. But other than for them, I think life would be a lot better for the air nomads and water tribes, and possibly the dragons, and a lot of people too, because I think Aang would be helped by Gyatso, Bumi, and Kuzan, and that'll be it. And I think Bumi's descendants will probably be the last of the Earthbenders, or maybe during the next harmonic convergence, instead of the Airbenders coming back like they did in the original series, not the original series, in Legend of Korra, which is the spinoff, but anyway, instead of the Airbenders coming back in the harmonic convergence, maybe the Earthbenders would come back in the harmonic convergence.